Every 15 minutes, another Washingtonian slips from housed to homeless, adding one more name to a shadow city now larger than the whole of Pullman, and growing faster than almost anywhere except California and New York. In January 2024, a single night's headcount logged more than 31,000 people statewide without a reliable roof, an eye-watering 12.5% spike in just 12 months. Picture every seat in Climate Pledge Arena filled, then emptying those fans onto the sidewalks of Seattle, Spokane, Yakima, and tiny timber towns you've never heard of. Over half of them are unsheltered, bedding down in cars, tents, or doorways, while winter rain shears sideways off Elliott Bay and mountain winds cut through Tri-Cities deserts. In King County alone, more than 16,000 souls shuffle between overstretched shelters and sidewalks, forming a parallel city whose zip codes change nightly and whose streetlights are the glow of camp stoves and police cruisers. Peer behind the numbers, and the crisis fractures into 1,000 personal stories, none as simple as Hollywood tropes of the down-and-out drifter. Take the Johnsons of Spokane, 2 working parents, 2 school-aged kids, evicted when their apartment complex sold to an out-of-state investor who jacked rent by $600 overnight. Or the 12,000 veterans who once saluted the flag, but now wrestle with labyrinthine paperwork for a subsidized bunk. Add nearly 53,000 teens and 20-somethings, many kicked out for coming out or simply aging out of foster care, couch surfing until the couches disappear. Seniors, one of the state's fastest-growing homeless groups, find Social Security checks that once covered a modest studio now barely cover groceries. It's a multicolored mosaic: LGBTQ+ youth, people of color, single moms fleeing abuse, retirees priced out of homes they'd paid off but couldn't keep once taxes and HOA fees climbed. Homelessness here is less a single face than a prism that refracts every angle of economic precarity. Yet statistics and profiles only sketch the outline. The ink that fills it in is the region's volatile housing market. Since 2010, median rent has rocketed nearly 70%, while wages trudged up barely 58%, an ever-widening gap where each percentage point represents another family squeezed. A one-bedroom in Tacoma that leased for $900 now goes for $1,600, and an average studio in Bellevue has breached $2,000. For every 100 low-income renters, Washington offers just 58 affordable units. For the poorest tier, those earning under 30% of area median income, only 28 units exist. That translates to an estimated shortfall of well over 190,000 affordable homes. King County's 2024 funding cycle managed money for fewer than 1,000 new units when applications begged for 10 times that. Meanwhile, Airbnb conversions siphon long-term rentals into weekend cash machines, leaving baristas and preschool teachers bunking in vans between shifts. A single tire blowout, prescription refill, or childcare gap can shove a paycheck-to-paycheck household straight off the financial cliff. And once the first domino tips, an entire chain shudders behind it. Washington's minimum wage leads the nation on paper, yet a 40-hour work week still falls hundreds short of the monthly cost of a 2-bedroom in most counties. When housing eats half, or more, of every paycheck, one hiccup can trigger a landslide. University of Washington researchers found that people with medical debt spent, on average, 2 extra years unhoused. When those debts hit collections, time on the streets skyrocketed by 11 more. Nearly 1/3 of Washington's unhoused battle substance misuse, but causation runs both ways. Addiction can lead to homelessness, yet homelessness's relentless stress often drives new or deeper dependency. Roughly half report untreated mental health issues: panic attacks magnified by sirens at 2 a.m., depression compounded by rain-soaked blankets. Youth leaving foster care face homelessness rates triple their housed peers, while citizens re-entering from prison are 13 times more likely to end up on the sidewalks thanks to background check bans and landlord stigma. Domestic violence survivors, mainly mothers with kids, remain one of the largest hidden populations, fleeing an abuser only to find the refuge system full. One crisis begets the next, and soon the chain feels impossible to break. Desperation eventually boils over into politics, and the courtroom becomes the battlefield. April 2025. The Washington Supreme Court torpedoes Spokane's Prop 1, a voter-backed ordinance making public camping near schools a misdemeanor. Advocates cheer, calling the ruling a victory for human rights. Opponents warn it handcuffs cities coping with public safety complaints. Across Puget Sound, neighborhood meetings seethe with NIMBY fury against proposed shelters, while small towns east of the Cascades debate zoning codes written when mail was still delivered by horseback. At the same time, analysts warn the state's homelessness programs face a $403 million shortfall because real estate excise tax revenue, the lifeblood of many shelters, collapsed with cooling home sales. Some counties freeze new projects. Others raid rainy day funds already drained by wildfire disasters. Lawsuits pile up as exclusionary zoning, renters' rights, and environmental review processes collide in court. The political temperature keeps rising, but amid the shouting, a quiet set of solutions has begun to prove its worth. Enter housing. First, the radical yet simple idea that people solve addiction, health, and job issues better when they're not shivering under a bridge. 5-year studies show 85 to 90% of participants remain housed, far eclipsing traditional treatment-first shelters. Then there's Washington's Homelessness Prevention and Diversion Fund. Instead of waiting until someone loses everything, the fund offers quick, flexible cash, covering a rental deposit here, a car repair there, and has kept 93% of youth stably housed for the price of a mid-tier laptop. Meanwhile, tiny home villages dot Seattle, Olympia, and Bellingham, lockable 8x12 cabins that provide privacy, heating, and a mailbox. 3 luxuries most congregate shelters can't guarantee. They move roughly 1 in 2 residents into permanent housing, triple the rate of mass shelters, while costing just $15,000 per unit, less than the price of paving a single downtown parking space. None of these innovations alone will empty every tent, but together they sketch a playbook other states now copy. Scaling that playbook, however, collides with the reality of an empty purse. Real estate excise taxes ebb with the market, federal grants tilt with each election cycle, and philanthropic dollars chase the next headline crisis. Without new revenue, many counties warn they'll shut beds this winter, just as La Niña forecasts predict a colder-than-normal storm season. Lawmakers float ideas ranging from a modest mansion tax to a statewide right-to-shelter mandate. Skeptics balk at unfunded mandates. Supporters argue that recognizing shelter as a basic right simply acknowledges what the state already pays for: ER visits, jail nights, and police overtime, only at triple the cost. Private developers push for deregulation to flood the market with new supply, while social justice groups demand strict affordability quotas. As the 2025 legislative session looms, the debate isn't just about line items, it's about whether Washington will treat housing like a commodity or a public utility as vital as water and power. And that decision carries us back to the fundamental question. Imagine a city where every resident lines up outside for shelter intake, medical check-ins, or a free meal. Then realize that city already exists, scattered beneath freeway overpasses and lakefront parks from Vancouver to Bellingham. Homelessness in Washington has become the storm window through which we glimpse every crack in our economic house. Soaring rents, stagnant wages, costly health care, systemic racism, aging demographics. If a roof, once humanity's baseline need, has morphed into a luxury item, what moral rent do we owe for allowing that shift? Each policy debate, each zoning vote, each emergency fund cut writes the next chapter. And while we deliberate, the clock refuses to wait. 15 minutes tick by. Another neighbor joins the shadow city. Whether we widen the mirror to see ourselves in that reflection, or tighten our blinds and look away, defines not just the future of Washington's streets, but the values we claim as a community.